Hi, I'm Rebekah Meier, and today I'm going to show you how to do monoprinting, stenciling, and painting fabric. This is the stencil I will be using for the technique. To start out with, I am using white acrylic paint. It can be any kind of paint. You can also use gesso, but this is just inexpensive white craft paint. So I'm going to make a little puddle on my silicone sheet. I have my stencil onto the fabric, and I'm going to do all of the stencil designs. So I'm going to dip my stencil brush into the white acrylic paint and just start putting the paint through the stencil onto the fabric. I am using muslin for this project. You could also use other types of fabrics, but muslin works really nicely. And I should mention, when you're stenciling and loading your brush, you don't want it dripping with paint. You want what is called a dry brush. So there's not much paint on the brush. You're going to put the paint on the brush. Free-flowing fabric paint again, and I think I'm going to lay a little more than that. And I'm going to wet my brush. It still has water from another project in it, and I'm going to get the paint pretty wet, diluted, and I'm going to go along the fold of the fabric. Make sure it's on the other side as well. So I'm going to add another color to my fabric. It's looking a little not how I like it. So I'm again going to wet my brush, grab the fabric, and I'm just going to start painting. Okay, we're going to let this dry. So I dried the fabric, and all the paint is somewhat dry. A little bit of damp, but that's okay. The next step, I'm going to use some simple tools to add more interest to the fabric. At this point, you can just layer and layer different paints, but the one thing you want to keep in mind is to let paint dry between applications. If you're using a free-flowing paint and then go into an acrylic, you want to dry those between applications. I'm going to take an old credit card or key card from a hotel, and I'm just going to run my key card through and scrape it a little bit on my palette. Now, so on the fabric, I'm just going to put it on its edge, kind of go down a little bit, and just go across randomly. So I want the paint to not be a thick application, but then in scraping it across the fabric will do that. And then the other thing I like to do is just do some lines, some crazy lines. So then I'm going to add some other colors that I think will be pretty. And I'm going to put it on my palette. I'm not too concerned that I'm putting it over the color that I already had, but I'm going to take my detergent cap and I'm just going to get the rim of it loaded with paint. And then I'm going to start doing some circle stamping. I love circles. I use them a lot. They really draw your eye to the fabric. And they can be fat circles or thin circles. You just want to experiment with it. So after I've done my circles, I'm going to move on to some stamping. So I just have a simple stamp here that I got at the craft store, or you can make your own. And I'm going to pick another color. I'm going to take the brush and I'm going to paint across and load my stamp. Okay. So then I look at my fabric and decide what I want to do. I really like the circles, so I'm going to load up a smaller circle cap and just going to do some more. I think I'll put a couple here. So I'm liking this, and as you can see though, the acrylic paints, these I haven't had dry. If I was coming in with a more liquid acrylic, then I would want to dry all of these acrylics. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do some more stenciling. I think that would look nice. And I'm just going to put I'm just going to use the middle part of the stencil. And I just want to give it a little more interest. See, I didn't even use all of the stencil, and I like that. I really like how that looks. I think I'll put finally one more down here. Then I'm also going to add some gold metallic. And this I think I'm going to add just by some little dots and some lines. Once it's done and you're happy, then you can make an easy pillow or project as in the Mixed Media Technique book.